Going back to the response you gave about debt, the debt that is owed to those countries who have been damaged through capitalism, through colonialism, through the enslavement of people, there's no way to even balance and say, okay, now you guys are doing this, so therefore you need to give this back, because in terms of pollution and damage to the planet, as we see, the more developed countries, and I put it in quotes, are the ones who've done most damage. So I don't know whether there's any fair way of saying, what are you doing so I can tell what I'm doing. Yeah, that's a really weird and difficult question.
So the outlook for other countries, I think, in these climate targets, I'm not too sure, because I think, as we were saying before,
Just start again.
Yeah.
Don't say, as I was saying before, because we might not have used something you said before.
True. Okay.
It might be just
all right, okay, let me focus,
yeah.
Okay, so what do I want to say? Okay, so yeah, I think in respect to the outlook for other countries, if Britain does achieve these targets, who knows?
But I think that the outlook is dire, though, because the constant, like we're hearing about the, ice melting, we're hearing about all sorts of things. So communities who are out there who have nothing and ways of coping, the farmers, the people who are nomadic, for example, who move from place to place, I think for them it's looking quite dark and dire, if it's an outlook. But it's in a country response, I think in terms of working with nature, they have done that, but I don't think some of the countries have even got to, because you're still feeding themselves, you're still talking about what you eat at the end of the day. They haven't sat down and start planning for what do we do in 2020 or 2050. So I don't think it's a fair even conversation to say, we're talking about it, why are you not talking about it?
Yeah, and if you look at some of the science, a lot of the countries will be uninhabitable, that the people are going to be wiped out, there's going to be a mass migration. So, we don't even need to look at that far ahead. We can look now that's happening in places like Syria, in Bangladesh flooding, all over the continent, South America, Africa. So that there's real impacts now. And I think, in order for there to be any kind of future, we need to really, hitting targets is okay, but the targets need to be in line with justice, not just looking at climate change. We need to look at climate justice, and so if we're greening Britain and if we're using green technology, then there needs to be an equal relationship in terms of where we get that technology from. So we can't just keep getting the coltan from the Congo. We can't just keep using resources from the so-called developing world, the exploited world. We have to, give them back some things as well, and help them to mitigate the climate changes that our industrialization has caused.